Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa. And today I have a treat. We've got a crypto journey and just overall chat with a great guy that is one of my Patreon. I wanted to introduce you guys to him. So David's going to be here in just a second. We'll take a quick break. And while we're doing that, if you guys will do us a favor and give us a like, share, and subscribe if you're not already, and make sure that notification bell's on. So we'll get to see you every time we go live. We'll be right back. Hi, David. Welcome to the new normal. How are you?
I'm pretty good, as it happens.
Sleepy? Yeah. Are you sleepy? I know you're so sweet. You didn't make me get up at the break of dawn.
Well, it's 10 p.m. here, but it's a bit after 10 p.m. actually. But anyway, it's not. Yeah, I'm not sleepy, not really.
You're not
I usually
sleepy.
go to bed after midnight, so.
Oh, wow. So you're a night owl for sure.
I mean, not much after midnight if I can help it, but
But that's
yeah.
that's the bell. Yeah. Well, thank you. So you're in Australia or New Zealand?
Australia, Perth,
Australia.
Perth, Western Australia.
Oh, that's right. You told me you're where the Perth Mint is. Mint.
That's the one.
It's hard to say Perth Mint.
Perth Mint, yes.
Perth
The
Mint.
Perth Mint. The Perth Mint.
The Perth
Don't
Mint.
you know?
So are you hearing a lot of noise about what's going on with the Perth Mint?
Not really, but I'm not very
Okay.
plugged into mainstream media stuff. If you mean what Big Swear is saying on
Yeah.
his channel, then
Yeah.
yes, I'm aware of. I watch Big Swear's stuff quite a lot, so
Okay.
yeah.
Me
So
too.
and of course, there's a few other people. The Adams, economics and stuff. So there's a few other people that have got a lot to say about Perth Mint.
Interesting. Yeah, that has to be weird thinking that they're talking about something happening in like your backyard, I would think.
It is a bit weird. It is. But we're a massive gold producer. We're not really a silver producer, to be honest with you, WA. But even though we've got massive deposits, but I mean, who is a silver producer really? Everybody does it as
Mexico.
yeah. Well, yeah, they've got like 3 massive miners. So
Yeah.
but I mean, virtually all the rest of us, we seem to just make it as a like a, what do you call it? Like a just as part of doing something else, because there's no incentive with the price so low, I guess.
Yeah, they've made sure of that for a long, long time. Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting as we go through this. Hyperinflation of the dollar. And are you seeing hyperinflation in your dollar
No,
there in Australia?
not really. No, I'm sort of waiting for I'm waiting for something to happen here. I mean, we've got price inflation in real estate, although the Perth real estate market has been, was relatively depressed until a whole bunch of people started flooding back into Perth after the COVID-19 thing sort of happened.
So is Perth more of like out in the country or a suburb, or people are getting out of the cities, or why are people flooding into the Perth area?
So it's a capital city of Western Australia, and it's got about 2 million people or thereabouts. Probably a bit more than that now, but the main reason I think most people Australia's got like about 2.5. I mean, before COVID anyway, it had between 2 and 2.5 million people living overseas, and large numbers of them came from Western Australia. Large numbers of them came from Perth. So I think we punch above our weight in terms of overseas residency, and of course, large numbers of them wanted to come home, or back to Australia for whatever reason. And
was everyone unemployed at that point? I mean, were they coming home because there were no jobs because of the vid?
Could have been. Could have been. I mean, coming back to be with family.
Right, if
Also
you're gonna be
probably,
locked up somewhere.
yeah, I guess so. Although, and also coming back, I think probably because I mean, WA didn't really close down.
Oh,
Not really. I mean, we have these little sort of mini lockdowns. We did have I mean, we were locked down for quite a few weeks in March, April, May. But that sort of
early
it,
on,
it-
yeah,
yeah,
and then
and then we sort of unlocked down, and I guess we're more concerned, I suppose, with some of the laws that have been um, sort of passed in the dead of night, those sort of things. That's the kind of stuff
mhm,
that's more concerning here. I mean, at least in WA. I don't know about. I mean, obviously Melbourne, they had really serious, nasty lockdown
right, the larger
situation over there.
cities. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Melbourne's really the only one that that had that happen.
Does that have more, like, liberal, or
Yeah,
progressive leadership in that area?
yeah. So our so-called right wing party is called the Liberal Party.
Oh, okay.
And um, they actually have a history that goes back to the Australian nationalist movement of the early 20th century. So, they came out of something called the One Australia Party. Yeah, this
Oh,
is many, 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 many years ago.
okay.
And
Kinda like America
but
First. They were doing
yeah,
Australia
yeah,
for one
I mean,
Australia.
I guess it could be. Certainly it was that they had that sort of attitude.
Mhm.
Um, and the Labor Party would be our left-wing party, and the Dan Andrews is the Premier of Victoria, where Melbourne is, and we have a similar Labor Premier here in WA, in Western Australia, not WA, Washington.
Mhm.
And um, yeah, and so yeah, so we're the only, as far as I know, I think we're the only two Labor states in Australia, WA and
Okay.
Victoria. The rest of them are what I suppose people in the UK would call conservative, and people in it would be a
Okay.
little bit like, I guess, what you would call conservative
Yeah.
over there for the rest of the states. Yeah.
Interesting.
Um,
So are you seeing those big discrepancies where, like, there's more lockdowns and these rules in the middle of the night and things like that in the labor states?
um, yeah, not really.
Okay.
There are with the exception of Victoria, where they've got connections to various Rockefeller groups and stuff coming out of London, and a few other um, connections to things that, like, um, Dan Andrews, I think, signed up to a BRI, um, you know, sort of uh, thing, as in, with
What's
China.
Oh, okay.
The Belt and Road Initiative.
I'm not familiar with that. I need to
Uh,
educate
uh,
myself.
okay, so there's these, you probably, once I explain it to you, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
It's this thing where oh, what have we got? It's this thing where I've got messages coming through, so I'm just
No, that's
I'm just
okay.
I'm just I'm just trying to get rid of them. So yeah, BRI is Belt and Road Initiative. It's like this Chinese thing where they sort of promise to help build infrastructure and invest in infrastructure and stuff, and then they end up um, it's a predatory scheme where
Okay.
the Chinese basically end up owning things that
So they're
that
building roads and infrastructure in Australia, but then they end up owning it.
yeah,
No?
or they end up they loan money, and
Oh,
or they bring over Chinese labor to do things, and
I
and
had no idea.
put in. Well, yeah, they've put in uh I think in Melbourne they started putting in 5G towers um and facial recognition cams and stuff like that in Melbourne. Um,
Oh gosh.
yeah, yeah, scary stuff.
I saw a
Um,
documentary called Coded Bias. And, of course, at the end, it's kind of focused on, once again, making the blacks a victim, which that's a part of it. Yes, there's bias against blacks definitely in the facial recognition thing, but they're talking about
mm,
how these algorithms are creating laws basically that no one that didn't go through the, proper channels. And I think it was in London,
mm,
they showed where they had these trucks with the facial recognition, and they just stopped people because they thought that the algorithm set them off, and they were
mm,
harassing these people. This one kid was like probably, I don't know, 15 or something, and he's delivering
mm,
pizzas on a bicycle, and he's like
mm,
crying over there. And then finally,
mm,
after they harass him, they let him go. And
mm,
it was really scary. And I haven't experienced that in the US, but
mm.
um the whole facial recognition thing is a little creepy to me.
I lived in London for 6 years, and
Oh,
the treatment of black kids by London police is pretty bad.
really?
It's pretty bad. Yeah, it's because I saw it. I saw it myself firsthand.
Firsthand, yeah. That's what it
I
was
mean,
heartbreaking to watch. I mean,
when I was coming back from when I was coming back home from work on the tube and stuff, and
mhm.
if you get on or get off at a particular particular stations in South London, then you end up seeing this kind of stuff, and
Mm.
it's a bit shocking when you're not used to it. I wasn't used to it, so people in London just kind of shrugged and walked around it and stuff. But um,
Ugh, that's
uh,
heartbreaking. I mean,
yeah,
that's really hard to watch. Yeah. I'm sorry I
yeah. So
interrupted you. So you're in London and for 6 years, and we were talking about the facial
mm,
recognition stuff.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's just there was plenty of cameras in London. I don't know about facial recognition. I mean, there's this
Okay.
thing called Strong Cities, which is a Rockefeller funded um, program, and Melbourne signed up to it. And I think that part of their BRI was connected to that thing as well. So, but that operates out of London. That doesn't operate. That's not just a Chinese thing. This sort of stuff is like it's a massive
Legacy.
network. From what I can gather, it's a massive network of
The elites
organizations that.
having power, yeah. I
Mm,
think it's so ironic that, like, they'll create these things, with these titles like strong city that sounds
mm,
positive, but it's actually, like, limiting and harmful to people typically.
mm,
Um,
mm,
I know they do that with a lot of bills here. They'll call them
mm.
something very positive, and then it's like,
Yeah,
you know
yeah. It's the same everywhere.
yeah.
like the Liberal Party actually being conservatives, for example.
Right, that's confusing. I wrote down right equals liberal equals nationalist equals First Australia.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Try to
something
help
like
me
that.
keep it together with which one's conservative and which one's,
Mm.
not
Yeah, yeah.
progressive, I guess.
The Labor Party. It's a bit like in Canada where there's a Labor Party, or Britain where there's a Labor Party. So
And
the
is that called a labor party because it's typically tied to unions?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's at least in theory, it's a wing of the union. It's the political wing of the union movement. Um, the
Okay.
reality is that that's not really how it works. The political party not is not really answerable to the unions at all. The
Oh,
unions have got very little control over it. It's the big um, what do you call them? The big union associations, as in the Union of Unions, that has some control, or that has control over the Labor Party, or large parts of the Labor Party, but
Not the individual unions that are looking out
not
for their members necessarily.
not really. Uh, although yeah, I mean, it used to be much more. They used to be much more connected together, but not really so much anymore.
Interesting.
Things have changed. I come from a Labor background, so it's been um, a very big wake up for me.
Was it different for you? Like, I think about I have a lot of friends that, they are like, "No, my family's been Democrats for years,"
Mm,
but they're JFK Democrats, which
mm,
are really aligned more with the conservative
mm. So I
movement.
gather. So I gather.
So it's like it's happened over time, that it's flipped, or maybe there's more of us in the middle than we realize, and just the outlying is what they put brands on, and then
Mm.
more efforts to divide us. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
kind of
well, it's that seems to be the way. Seems to be the
yeah.
way they the 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 MO, as they would say
Mhm.
in London, London cops.
MO, the
The
method
MO,
operandi.
the modus operandi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. Well, I do want to talk to you about uh, crypto,
Crypto.
of course. I just go
Yeah,
right into the political stuff. I apologize, but I'm just crazed by all of it. So I'm curious
sure.
what's happening all over the world. So thanks for sharing some of the lockdown info there in Australia. Um,
I'll just tell you,
yeah.
here in Perth, we're in 4 days of mask wearing, after a 3-day lockdown, because we had um I think we had like a a transmission of a case um in quarantine, that the guy apparently then went out and infect like he affected mother and daughter, apparently. You can see that I'm not really much of a believer, and it happened right on Anzac Day. So there's a
On
lot of
what day?
people. Anzac Day, which is our
I don't know what that means.
Armed Services Remembrance Day, sort of thing.
Oh,
Anzac, the Anzacs were the Australian New Zealand Army Corps that fought in the First World War, and
okay.
Anzac Day is remembered as the day that we were defeated at a place called Anzac Cove in Turkey, where we were sent by the British.
So you're obviously putting the same things together that I'm seeing, that like there's significant events happening on either these religious holidays or
Mm,
um, service days. I follow all of our military on Twitter, and they
mm,
seem to be like sending messages and coding. And there was something
mm,
last night that oh gosh, now I'm not going to remember. I should have screenshotted it. It was like two tweets came out at the same time, and one said "Good night, Patriots," and then there was like bad news, and they were literally like on the same second released. So I don't know. My skeptical conspiracy mind, I'm always like, I know that's a message about something. Um,
but
so
what?
yes, but what? Yeah, they're not going to let us in on it. But so their method or their thinking is there was this transmission or whatever exposure, and then you all had to lock down for 3 days,
Funny that,
and then
because it was the
oh
3 days of the long weekend.
oh, over the long weekend,
Yeah,
which
so it was.
yeah, they get stuff done over the weekend. So they needed you guys to be locked down over the weekend, and then you have to wear a mask for 4 days.
Mm. I mean, the reality of the lockdown is that you can go out. And
Okay.
it's not a real. I don't know what
Not like
lockdowns are
what they're
like.
doing in Turkey, yeah. In Turkey,
Yeah, I don't
like,
know
if
what.
you leave your home, you are arrested, but
Yeah, that wouldn't fly here. Uh,
okay.
that would be people really taking um that would be people really infringing on. I mean, they're infringing on people's rights as it is, but there's a certain
Right.
level that you can kind of I think they feel they can get away with. And then there are
Wow.
other things that are just out and out unlawful. And even if they were to pass legislation, they wouldn't get away with it because
Yeah,
there are
I always
higher
think
laws
of
than
the
the state.
Australian people being like very strong, patriotic, outgoing, very similar to Americans. I think you guys just
Yeah,
don't
I
have
don't know.
guns.
Yeah, and and we have our we have we definitely have our sheep here as
Oh,
well. So
sure. Here
um
too.
yeah, so and yeah, but I mean I guess the good thing about sheep is that uh if the if there's a strong enough person who stands up for freedom, they'll go along with that as well. Because
Interesting.
because,
Yeah.
because they're kind of nobody really wants to be unfree. So,
Right. Good point. So
you
they'll
know,
go with the flow, but
mm,
it's the same reason that, we have lots of friends that are like, and I think the majority of people in America, they just wear the mask because they don't want to get harassed at the grocery store. They don't really think
mm,
it's protecting them. They don't really think they're protecting someone else. But
mm,
like the majority of people I talk to, I'm like, why are you wearing that? Well, I just don't want anybody to say anything to me. I just don't want to
mm,
be harassed. And it's like, that
mm,
whole go along thing, I guess that's a great way to
mm.
look at it, that maybe if we can get the
Go
right
along to get
people.
along.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
along to get along. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly. It's just a shame that there'll be a bunch of people that'll take the vaccines for exactly the same reason and
Oh, it's
think that it
heartbreaking. Yeah.
and think that it'll do, especially older, because the majority of people taking vaccines here in Australia are old people. We've only got the
Mm.
AstraZeneca at the moment, as far as I know.
Oh God.
So and only people over the age of 55 are allowed to take it.
Okay.
Um, so all these people who are, in their 70s and stuff, they're all taking it. A lot of them are. People in my church have a whole bunch of them have taken it. It's just,
That's
you
heartbreaking.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, if what I mean, we'll see what Cliff
So
High's
he tweeted out this morning and an article from a study. I can't remember where it was from, but showing that the mRNA stops the protein in your body that fights tumors, that naturally fights tumors.
mhm,
And so we may see a large surge in cancer
cancer.
from that being that natural, healthy
Mm.
reaction in our body being stopped.
Um, I always take what Cliff High says with I'm not so much with a pinch of salt, but I just have seen him make predictions in the past that have not come true quite the way he dramatized them. So
Right.
he can be a little bit over dramatic. Just
Well,
that's
in his defense, like I really think we have to remember where he gets his information. So he gets his information from web bots
mm,
scraping the language. And
mm,
if we go back to what the language was about what this is and all that,
mm,
I think I do the same thing. I'm agreeing with you. I kind of go, well, that may be what they're saying about it,
mm,
but that doesn't mean that that's what it is or going to be.
mm,
But like they were definitely saying this is dangerous and going to kill so many people and blah blah blah, and that was the narrative or the language. So um but
yep,
I
and
see what you're saying, like take it with a grain of salt in that that's what the narrative may be, but that may not be what's really happening underneath.
yeah,
um
and I mean, although I believe that his stuff is uh it's supposed to take account of it's not a it'll be the narrative of ordinary people as opposed to
yeah.
the official narrative. But it's just that I've seen him make predictions that haven't quite come to pass. They've come to pass in a slightly different way from
Hmm.
from what he said.
What he
So
saw. happening. Yeah.
Yeah, or I don't know whether it's different from what he saw, but it's different from what he said. I mean, I've got quite a lot of respect for him,
Sure.
myself. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be able to talk to you about Cliff High if I didn't. So, um, uh, and he, so I guess we'll find out. But
I think it's just more of
and
that gathering more information, it's more information for us to then um, do the critical thinking ourselves. And
mm,
appreciate the information being out there. And then we can kind of say, okay, but what am I seeing here? And, you know, all
mm,
that kind of stuff. Cause I think the death rate is what has been just a real clarifier for me is that, our death rate hasn't really gone up. And they,
oh, with
they were
the
telling us all this fear of, there's gonna be bodies in
mm,
the streets and won't even be able to keep up with them. And, here
mm,
they were digging mass graves in New York and all this crazy stuff. I'm
mm,
like,
it didn't happen, did it?
didn't happen. No.
Yeah, yeah. It's a funny. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're supposed to be talking about cryptos, aren't we?
Yes. We'll get there. Um, so when did you was Cliff part of your crypto journey? I guess he's somewhere in there you bumped into him, but
Um, I actually, I mean, I didn't do anything, even though I've known about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a few other things. I've known about them for years, but I actually literally did not do anything about it until the beginning of this year, because
really?
that was the first time that I actually bought anything.
Okay.
And
So
although I've been
what was that significance of this year that made you really take action
uh, last year,
last year?
what what happened last year? And So two things. Last year, and then um, and then I suddenly had a little bit of money that I could spend that I didn't have before. Um,
So there
so
was an opportunity and a motivation there.
yeah, but what happened? What a lot of things, because they happened last year, they made a lot of things real that
Mhm.
previously had just been.
Like a
Uh,
what if, maybe one day,
mm,
yeah, we might need to do, but then you
mm.
really saw the application of and the strength of cryptocurrency. So what were those traits of cryptocurrency that you were seeing that now seemed real to you and moving you to the future?
Well, mostly the decentralized finance part is kind of important. Um, but also, I mean, all of the dApps, as in all of the decentralized
Okay.
applications, the and feeling like I wanted to support that, and things like even things like decentralized VPNs and
Mhm.
those kinds of things, because a lot of the stuff that we have, that we have theoretically to protect us, like VPNs, they're not really very protective. Um, I mean, at least when you've got something that's decentralized, then nobody's in control of, well, yeah, yeah, effectively nobody can control the data
Mhm.
because it's spread across so many different people. And then there's all those sorts of different things, all that decentralized, uh, you know, um, the idea of a decentralized, decentralized finance applications and those things are, and the fact that you don't need banks, and
Mhm.
you hold your own keys, you hold your own coin. All of
So
those things are kind of
yeah, the actual tech and use case of
mm.
cryptocurrency is really was the driver for you. That's interesting. So what
Don't get
was your
don't get me
first Oh, go
wrong.
ahead.
Don't get me wrong. The investment opportunity is kind of important as a as a
I
as
agree.
a as a way of doing something with money. Yeah, so that's also kind of important. I've made a lot more money from, at least theoretically, I've made a lot more money from cryptos than I have from what I do as my business,
Oh, wow.
uh, which is a clinical hypnotist.
Oh,
So
interesting.
Mm,
I don't know
yeah.
if I knew that about you.
Nope, I didn't tell you.
I wonder if you so I always think of my little boy who's, struggling with the, cyclical vomiting syndrome from grief, and we've gone to, like, every doctor imaginable, and,
Mhm,
um, I think it was Soul Rita and I were talking about, like, some solutions, and she talked about using hypnosis to maybe help
mhm,
him with some of his grief. I
mhm,
know this is, like, totally personal and off topic, but,
mhm.
have you seen people be able to be helped with, hypnosis with different things like that?
Yeah, definitely. Um,
Really?
I mean, I don't know about children, of
Okay.
who are very young. The reason I say that is because generally people respond better to trance when they're, um, you know, sort of when they're above the age of 8 or 9, and and they sort of max out about the age of 13, 14, and then there's sort of a plateau after that.
Okay.
And uh, nobody really res I mean, the more you do it, obviously, the more you do
Can get into
trance,
that mindset. Yeah.
yeah, the better you are at manifesting um the trance phenomena. But so, but the thing is, very young children are basically
Already in, yeah,
yeah, they're
theta.
already in that. Yeah,
Yeah. He's
that's
10 and
pretty
a
much it.
half, so he would be um, in
Yeah,
that sweet spot, I guess. Maybe that would be something I could
yeah, yeah.
pursue for
You
him.
you you could, uh, and I think it might be quite fun for him. Um,
Hmm, interesting.
it depends on how, there's a lot of different ways you can go about it, but um, yeah. So
Well, we'll have to talk
that,
about
but
that
that's
sometime.
that's a whole other
Like, I
conversation.
was gonna say, that's a whole whole 'nother thing. So you're actually making more are you trading your cryptos to make more, or you had the opportunity to invest and you chose some
I'm
of
I'm
the good
more
choices?
I'm more I'm more hodling than
Okay.
trading. I've tried to do a little bit of trading, but I'm not very good at it. So so yeah, I think I've lost as much money as I've gained through trading. Um,
Well, that's
so
better to
so
be there. And then you had the education. You've gained the education as well, so
mm,
not a total loss. Um,
yeah, been awesome actually.
yeah, really interesting. So what are some of the products or sorry, projects or choices that you made in your hodling that have benefited you or I know you talked about a lot of the reason you were drawn to different things is because of the tech or use case
Mm,
and the DeFi part of it.
yeah, yeah.
What are some of your favorite coins or projects?
Well, I really like Theta, obviously. Um, if I watch Big Swear, then I probably like Theta.
Yeah.
Um, and I also really like Digibyte,
Mm.
because it really is this decentralized thing. It's a little bit like, um, say, Thorchain or something like that, where there's no real company. I mean,
Right.
that's probably why it hasn't done so well. Like, that's why it hasn't jumped off you know, why it hasn't
There's there's a lot
jumped
of
over
stuff
mountains yet.
coming. Yeah.
Mm.
Did you have a chance to see the reading that we did with SL369 and Maya from Shining Bull Astrology on Digibyte?
Yeah,
She
I don't know whether I saw it all, but I did see quite a lot of it. Yeah.
she nailed it with the whole she's like, I mean, I see government contracts, all this, and with the
Mm,
Digi ID being
mm,
implemented in Microsoft
hmm
365. And
hmm
then I'm like, this count issue that we have
mm,
and the identification being such a big part of that. And then all of us, like we did that video, and then Jared, I don't know if it was that day, the day before, somewhere right
mm,
around that time, Jared Tate said, I'm going to be really busy. I'm working on some stuff behind the scenes, so I'll
mm,
be out. And she's timing it for next spring for Digi to start running because of some noise about government contracts. And I'm like, that could be associated with voting. So those are all kind of our ideas around that. So I really like Digibyte too. It's very similar to Litecoin in that it's decentralized and moves really fast. So
I was watching somebody criticize Litecoin tonight, actually.
shame on them.
It was criticizing Charlie Lee.
But Charlie Lee's
not
separate from Litecoin.
Yeah, well, did he step down or something, or
Well, so the foundation, and then there's the coin. The foundation is a marketing thing, just
okay.
like Digibyte fam, or team. I don't know what the crew, maybe they call themselves. I don't know. But the coin is
Developers.
completely separate from the foundation.
Mhm,
And so Charlie Lee was the creator of Litecoin, but
mhm,
then he sold all his Litecoin to help show that he's not he's not affecting Litecoin, which a lot of people
mm.
criticize. Oh, he sold at the
That
top.
was one of the criticisms.
Yeah, well, we're about to have a new top, so just hold
Mm.
your drawers over there. And and he did that for, the good of the coin. It's not like
Mhm,
and it's not like he sold it for dirty fiat. Let's be honest. There's rumors that he and the guy from Monero, Fluffy Pony, swapped coins basically.
okay.
And then that's a rumor.
Mhm.
But that he stayed in the crypto community. So I don't know. I have a hard time
How
busting Charlie Lee.
I mean, I'm just reporting what I
Yeah.
heard. So, I mean, I'm not really, um, I mean, I'm not. I sort of wanted to bring it up with you because you're like Coin Lisa, um, but mostly I wanted to, you know, because
Yeah, I'm
I mean, I
curious what
sort of,
their criticism were, other than that at the top,
um,
I hear that all
well,
the time.
mostly the fact that that they that they've been dragging their feet, on various things, like the privacy stuff, and the
Oh,
privacy stuff was announced back in 2018, but here we are in 2021, and it still hasn't been implemented properly, and
well, it
kind of
wasn't
stuff.
funded until, Litecoin Summit,
Mm,
2019, which would have been October 2019, and we all chipped in, and they did an auction of Vesa did a beautiful piece of art, and, actually, I have a copy over there, behind me. But
yep.
they auctioned that off, and that actually paid for funding for David Burkett to work on the privacy layer, and all that's done. Mimblewimble is
Hmm.
done. Now you have to remember that there's issues of timing with SEC and what's going on in the world and all that too. So some of
Hmm.
that's in their hands. Um, but the development was even decentralized. I mean, the community came together and put a bounty, and David Burkett took that on. But um, I think it's really exciting what's going on with Litecoin, and I think that seeing things like PayPal and Venmo choosing Litecoin is
Hmm.
kind of like that's because it's considered a currency,
Hmm.
not not an asset or a what am I trying to say? Something that you have.
Something speculative, or something,
Yes, thank you.
something that's just kind of fly by night or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So,
I hear you referencing XRP there with your, not an asset thing. Um, I mean,
well,
I
it
don't know
was
whether that's
created
what
by the same people that created Dirty Fiat. It's a bankster coin, and so people can talk about it and stomp
I
their
think.
feet and
I think the word
want
is
it.
scam. I think the word
Yeah,
is scam.
absolutely, absolutely. I
That's
mean,
that.
look at the team behind it, and that's where people are busting on Charlie Lee. L- Go
Mm,
look at his track record, and look at who
mm,
his family is, and who he is, and what he's done for the community through Coinbase, and
mm,
I mean, he's built a lot of the crypto community, and he's very humble, and
mm,
so I don't know. Meanwhile, look at the team behind XRP, and there's a whole
mm,
different story there.
mm. Well, I'm
Anyway,
yeah, I'm not a fan of XRP,
me
um,
either.
but apart from the fact that they, as far as I know, they didn't even mine the coins. They just created them out of thin air.
Just like dirty
So
fiat. Yeah.
pretty
They just
much,
print
yeah.
it, print it, print it.
Um,
Yeah. It's
so
interesting to see what'll happen with the SEC case. I couldn't believe that the SEC was, like, whining that they were being harassed by XRP during this investigation. I'm like, "Please." It was
yeah,
like 2 bullies beating each other up, in the
it it
schoolyard.
it it seems like it's a bit of theatre. That's what it seems like to me.
Oh,
It just seems like theatre, rather than anything particularly, um, you know, to, some people have got to be seen to be doing the right thing, as opposed to, you start as you mean to go on,
mhm,
if you get what I mean. Like,
mhm.
it's for consumption. It's not, it doesn't, well, I don't know. I mean, a lot of the time, the people that are involved in these things, they really believe that they really believe that they're doing the right thing, even though
Right.
they're
Oh, I
they're
think
really
there's
not.
some good people that really see the value in it and don't understand the things that I'm turned off by it, then that
Mm.
those points don't bother them, but yeah, it's
I
really
just meant
interesting.
I just meant the SEC. I just meant the SEC. I mean,
Mm.
I'm not really that familiar with the American thing.
Oh,
But
okay.
but I imagine that you've got you will often have people who are ideologically captured, who really believe in the things that they're doing, even though they're the wrong things, but they believe that them to be the right things. So,
Yeah, we're probably all a little guilty of that, to be honest.
oh,
Like,
not us.
just them and they, yeah, not us, not us. Oh,
Mm.
interesting. So you're, like Theta, Digibyte,
Oh yeah,
you're
sorry, I didn't. Yeah, I
no,
was
no,
going to
no.
say Cosmos, Atom, which I like because, well, I like it because it's a good, because it's good technology.
Okay, I've never heard
They're
of that
not Cosmos, Atom.
project.
You haven't heard of them?
Mm-mm.
Okay, all right.
I'm not, but,
Uh,
I'm not out there looking for things as much. My
okay.
husband does more like he's out looking for new projects all the time and all that, and
Uh,
that's not one I'm familiar with.
I'm just thinking of, they're all about sort of, uh, connecting up the different, connecting up all of the different blockchains, sort of
Oh,
thing. So they can
okay.
all talk to each other. Um,
Interesting.
and lots of other people's stuff has been built on the Cosmos SDK. So,
Okay.
there, I like Zilliqa, um,
Mhm.
uh, for a lot, for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you staking your Zilliqa?
mm, mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's been
the
really
to-
profitable.
yeah, it's a great token, and it's got great staking potential. Um, and what else do I like? Like a bunch of stuff, but I can't remember all
So
of it.
you're pretty diversified then. It's not like you're not some kind of Litecoin maximalist or Digibyte maximalist or Theta. You're kind of
I'm
although you're
almost
a hodler, you're in other projects.
I got more theta than I got anything else.
That's probably smart.
I mean, because, yeah, I mean, I don't have that much theta, to be honest with you. Like, I don't have that much. I Because I got in relatively late by comparison to all of you guys.
Mm.
You've been in the thing for years and years and years, so you're able to get in when the things are only pennies. Whereas when I got in, they're dollars. So,
There's still those penny
so,
opportunities that,
mm,
they're out there. They're just
mm.
I
Well,
think ZIL is one of those,
mm,
if you got in
yeah,
this year, we
mm,
got in, I think, this year.
Zil
Um,
and Digibyte are both roughly the same. Um, I mean, they're in the same price
right
zone,
now.
sort of between 10 and 25 cents or whatever.
Hmm.
So they're both, they're both pretty uh yeah, they're I probably like them both because they're cheap.
Yeah, it's a
I
great
mean,
opportunity.
I
And they
could.
both have they have a strong product,
Mm,
or strong use case and a bright future for both of those. So it is it's a great opportunity, I think. So
mm.
you get some of your information from Bix. Where do you get when you're looking at these projects and deciding what you want to invest in, or what projects you want to be a part of? Where do you get that information?
I've got a friend who's been in cryptos for ages, I suppose, and so some of my information comes from him, and some
What
of
was
it
his
comes.
response when you finally, because I'm guessing that he's been telling you to get in for years and you didn't
Well, I
actually
haven't.
do it?
I actually. I haven't. He. I haven't known him for that long.
Oh, okay. It's just that he's been in it for a
Uh,
long time. Okay.
he's been in it. He's been in it for years, and I've known him for about a year and a half, I'd say.
Okay.
Um, and so, and he was telling me about it last year, and I was thinking, because it was sort of, he was going, it's about the right time to
It's
get in
about to
now. Now
happen. Yeah. Yeah.
it's about, and I was thinking, yeah, I can see that, because there'd be all these reports about Bitcoin going up, or going down and then going up and this sort
Mhm.
of thing. And I kept on looking at the Bitcoin price, going, oh, I've really got to get some Bitcoin, and just not having any money.
Yeah.
and 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 so then eventually being able to, you know to be able to, get in and do it this year. I mean, I really could have done something from about October or November of last year, but I didn't. I went out and bought silver and gold instead,
Well, that's not a
because
bad
I
choice
because
either,
I
you know?
thought because I thought, oh, I've got to get myself some real stuff. So I
Yeah,
did
and
that
then you
first.
learn that, you
Yeah.
will have real stuff in your possession
Mm.
with cryptos in your
But
possession.
like once you do more of it, you kind of have more confidence that it is
Mhm.
real, and that these are slices of um you know the utility tokens of the technology. Um so I yeah I really, I guess it's been a real learning opportunity for me, I guess. It's
Yeah.
been good.
So did
It's been
he
good, but
walk you through some of those, like opening up wallets, getting on exchanges, or was that something you kinda stumbled through or found yourself?
no, he told me to do things like, send a test amount, when you
Okay.
because I got onto, we have an exchange here called CoinSpot, which I've got an account with, and he said, oh, go to CoinSpot and get an account there first, because they're pretty cheap. So I had not used any of the any of the, and I still really haven't used any of the proper swapping,
Oh, okay.
exchange, the dexes. I haven't really used them. Um, uh, I've used them a little bit. Like I've used Slim. Yeah, but not really that much. But that's the
I
next thing
see.
I'm going to be getting myself into, is using the dexes, because you can't get Monero, for example, except via dexes. So
Mm,
um, and I like Monero. I like the idea of it. I think it's a good thing.
yeah,
Um,
I agree.
you know, uh, what, I don't know whether you can hear that. There's a cat in the background. There's two
I
cats in the
wondered if you
background.
had a baby up at 10 o'clock or
No, no,
that's
my
a little
children,
kitty cat.
my children
Your fur
are,
babies.
they're a little bit older than babies now, fortunately.
Yeah.
But not that much older than babies, actually. Yeah, they're not that much older
That's
than babies.
funny. Yeah, they're telling dad it's time to go to bed, I guess.
You're
Well,
there. Go on.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say, if so, I always ask everybody, do you have when you got into crypto or now that you see the potential in crypto, do you have a crypto dream or goal? Or what does your life look different in the future because of crypto?
Good question. I'd like to get rid of all of the debt that I'd like to get rid of the mortgage. That would be
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah.
I'd like to, uh, but fundamentally, what I really want to be is um, independent of a lot of things. They used to call it a man of independent means.
Okay.
That would be
Independently wealthy, I think
that would
is
be
what.
good. That would be good. I mean, that's still a ways off, but I don't know. I mean, it
So
all
if you're
depends.
independently wealthy or a man of means, how does your life look different? Are you traveling more? Are you using your gifts and your skill with hypnosis to help people in different ways? Have you thought about like that future?
Um, there's a lot of things I'd like to do, but I don't know what I want to do because there's so many different things I'd like to do. So
But just to have that, know that that's on the table, that you could dream and be able to do whatever you could think of, all those possibilities.
uh, I mean, it's also that whole thing of coming from a position of strength when dealing with um, how to make income and so on, as opposed to just having that feeling of that um, that I'm doing something because I really want to do it or I really love to
Mhm.
do it, as opposed to doing it because or being afraid to
To
not do
not
something.
do it.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree.
Because so I mean, I was a real estate agent for a while, uh, and I had the experience. This is one of the things you're not really supposed to do as a real estate agent. But I remember having the experience of taking on listings that just to have something to take on, just to have a
Mm,
listing to take on when the seller was really unrealistic.
mm,
Um, and and I don't like being in that sort of position where I end up having to take on things that are they're not going to work. It's not going to work for anybody, but I sort of feel like I have to take it on because um because I have to.
needed the
Um,
commission or the exposure in the
well,
market or
yeah,
whatever.
need more to do with needing the exposure as opposed to needing the commission.
Mhm.
Because if the seller is unrealistic, then you
It's
end
not
up
gonna
with
happen anyway,
yeah
right.
the thing's not going to sell. It's and so and actually the the thing is more of a burden. In the end, it's more of a burden on everyone, and actually makes if you're a real estate agent and you don't sell it, then your reputation suffers. So there are it can be more damaging than good, but sometimes you feel like you need to sell it, or you need to take on the listing because um because there's too few sellers and there's yeah, those sort of things. So I've
Interesting.
been. So you're never supposed to do that, right? That's what they tell you.
Yeah.
Whenever you go to these trainings and so on, they always tell you that you don't ever do this. But but inevitably, uh, I found that I did do it, just because I felt that I needed to. Um, so I don't like to be in that position. So I want to find ways to get
Be
away
free
from that.
from that. Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, yeah, it's that's what being free, being independent sort of means. It means to me anyway. It means being able to say no, so that nobody wastes their time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That I think been, I don't know, somebody was talking about having that kind of FU money to where you're like, no, I don't have to be a part of that. I don't have to be not
Yeah.
ever having that feeling of I'm going to miss out or I need to do this opportunity. And that's a great way to look at freedom is knowing that, you don't have to compromise yourself in any way
Mm.
because you're secure.
And I like to have a bigger house and have a place to set up a recording studio and all that,
Oh, you're a
all the sort of
musician as well.
all the dreams that young men have that old men may eventually be able to achieve.
A Corvette, a
I'm
recording
not.
studio.
I don't care about the Corvettes, but definitely
Don't
the recording studio. Yeah, definitely I'd love to have a. Um, I mean,
Do you play piano, guitar? What do you play?
yeah, I play a bit of guitar, play a bit of keyboards, play a bit of um trombone. That was the first
Interesting.
first instrument that I ever learned actually was trombone, but mostly, yeah. I mean, if I'm writing stuff, it'll be mostly on guitar. It used to be mostly on piano, but I haven't really. The guitar's a lot more portable. Like my guitar's
Mhm.
just over there, so
Okay.
I can easily pick it up and just play it. Whereas my keyboards, I've got to plug them in and stuff, and I got no space for that with two small girls, so it just
Mhm.
doesn't work in my house at the moment,
At the moment, I
unfortunately.
understand. I
Yeah.
understand. Well, there's a time for all of that, and hopefully cryptos will bring that to you even quicker. But well,
Mm.
I really appreciate you sharing your crypto journey. It was really nice to meet you and get to know you. I'm sorry I went off on a couple tangents. I have a tendency to do that. So
Yeah, I mean the
part of it.
conversation didn't quite go the way I anticipated, but that's okay.
That's okay. All right, everybody. Please check out the links below, and you guys can be a Patreon and join me on a crypto journey sometime too. So, everybody, take care. Bye.